I've got Phil Liggett. Unfortunately, Phil, if he couldn't be here, and believe it or not, he's got technical issues. It's not like John, is it?
Dan, John has had technical issues for at least 30 years, mate. This is no exception. But I feel sorry for him. He'd be so exasperated not being able to speak.
Now, last time we spoke to you, record numbers on the NBC coverage. Have we seen that increase, or is it holding firm? How's it all going?
To be honest, I was so elated with the 20% increase. I've never asked the question since, so I don't know is the answer. But here we are, sort of 12 days into the tour, and the figures are good, though. They're very happy because it's difficult timeshare. It's very much like SBS, but the other end of the time scale, because just as SBS guys are going to bed at 2 and 3 in the morning, the guys in the United States and California, they're getting up at that time. And I had an email this morning from a chap in Alaska who said, hey, don't forget to give me a shout out because I start watching the show at 2 a.m. in Alaska.
Wow.
So to get good figures, obviously we don't get huge figures in the first hour or two of the race from that side of America. We do on the East Coast. And then gradually it's finishing at a great time. It's before people go to work. So the figures are pretty good then.
Now, what's your thoughts on the race this year? Obviously, the young brigade are killing it in the GC. Seems to be a big changing of the guard, mate.
They've been threatening for a few years now, and I think this is the tour to prove it. The youngsters are back. It was hinted at last year, of course, with the great ride of Tadej Pogacar in the Tour of Spain, youngest ever guy to podium since the wars. So he's doing pretty well. And although I think it had to come sooner or later. And I keep thinking that Geraint Thomas and Chris Froome are thinking, riding in the Tirreno Adriatico, thinking, well, just as well we're not there, perhaps, because those kids are starting to look rather useful right now. But it is the change in the guard. But hey, going under the radar at the moment is the kind of resurgence from the French cyclists. Romain Bardet is up there in 4th place, and well talked about by the French before the tour started was Guillaume Martin. Well, he's in 3rd place and talking it all up. So it's a very different tour, and it's a very interesting tour.
Now, one thing people might not know is when you were at the Tour Down Under, you were giving an honorary doctorate. So I think you're known now as Dr. Phil. Now, perfect time to ask Dr. Phil, what's the latest with the COVID situation, mate?
Well, it's getting a little bit worse in the UK here. I'm sticking to the rules because the pubs are open. But if I was to go in, you have to leave your name and address and telephone number when you go in for a drink. And if somebody during the period you are in the pub gives a positive, then you're out for 2 weeks. And I can't afford not to be here. So when I realised that, I've not been near the pubs at all, just in case. But basically, we are on the increase with new cases. I think we've had about 10,000 in 4 days, but very few deaths. Only 8 yesterday. I say only 8, but this is nothing. There's more than that get killed on the road in the morning in the UK. So, but they're very worried about the spike. France is even worse. France is coming up the scale rather rapidly, and they're getting up to 9,000 cases a day. There's even a rumour started to circulate in France, unconfirmed and totally denied, of course, by the race organisation, that the Tour de France would consider finishing on the last day in the Alps, which is Saturday week, and not go to Paris at all, because Paris is a red zone. Everybody must wear masks in and outside, and you're going to get thousands of people on the Champs-Élysées. It's okay, the riders will finish, but what will be the aftermath in the situation of such a gathering of people? So they're saying nothing, but that's the talk on the street, and I'll wait and see, because I don't want this race to be disrupted. But the last day does nothing anyway, does it? So we could finish.
Yeah. Interesting stuff there from Phil about potentially not riding in Paris, Iffy.
Interesting for me too, because I never heard it before when you were taping it, but I think I come in on part 2.
That's right. Part 2, John finally gets his Wi-Fi
Johnny's back.
sorted out. Johnny,
hey!
How's
the internet?
Now, we must ask me the same questions now that Dan just asked me.
Yeah, no, we've covered all the current stuff, and I mentioned how he's known as Dr. Phil now, so we've got the Dr. Phil update on COVID. Hey, one other thing, Phil, is you're in the news in Australia at the moment because the government has announced funding for a documentary on Phil Liggett that will be coming out at the Adelaide Film Festival.
On that, the Voice of Cycling. Yeah, well, that's the official poster. I'm flattered and I'm totally in awe. There's a company rang me up over 2 years ago now, 2.5 years ago, and I was just going to the pub. I saw the WhatsApp come in. I said to my wife Trish, I said, "Hey, I quite fancy this. People have been asking me to write a book for years, and I've been turning it down. But to have a documentary made of my life," so I said, "that appeals to me." So I just wrote back a one line saying, "Great idea, let's talk more," thinking nothing more of it. And it came to fruition in the March. That was Christmas time. In the March, the camera crews hit town, followed me for nearly 2 years.
Wow.
2 people, a camera, soundman, and a producer. It was just amazing. And they saw my other life in Africa. So that's become a major part of the documentary, my life with the rhinoceros, and also with my life in South Australia, particularly with the koalas and the fires which have destroyed them. So it's become a major documentary. It's finished. It's locked in. It's 1 hour and 50 minutes long. I was in tears when they sent me a rough cut, and Trish and I just sat privately and watched it. We were watching for any errors in the film, that's all. And I just loved it. I just couldn't believe it. Well, frankly, that I achieved so much in my life. I didn't even see it. To me, it's just been fun and a terrific journey. But they've made an incredible film out of it. And it will be launched, I think it's October the 22nd. It's around that time at the Adelaide Film Festival. And the Aussies get first crack because, God bless the Aussies, the money's come from Australia and it's cost quite a lot.
Well, I was
You're
going to
almost an Aussie, mate. You're almost an Aussie.
Does it cover?
I feel I am. Well, I know Australia like you guys, and I love the people. I love the cycle. I've watched the cyclists come through from real trials like the days of Phil Anderson, one of the most talented guys we'll ever know, from the long back history, Hubert Opperman and Russell Mockridge, and now to a tenner penny now, the Aussies in Europe, and everyone makes a reputation for himself. They don't come and make up the crowds; they achieve. So yeah, I've loved to see the way Australian cycling has progressed.
Does it go back to the 70s and the 80s for Phil Liggett, because they were a real sort of sex, drug, and rock and roll period for yourself, and it wasn't until sort of Sherwin come along that you really sort of settled down, I heard.
Well, they started off with my life up in the north, and there's a lot of pictures of me as a racing cyclist. People don't think I ever rode a bike, and how I didn't take the pro contract, and friendship that grew with Eddie Merckx, etc. And they traced my whole life story. And because Trish has been part of my journey the whole way, she's got quite a big part in it as well. There's a nice scene of Trish. She's, wherever she is, she does her dance practice, because she dances all the time, competitively. And she's dancing on the deck with an elephant standing 6 feet away from her, thinking, what on earth is that? That's
awesome.
It's a lovely story. It's fabulous. We've got helicopters in it where we chase rhinos. And I think it'll be, I thought you're wasting your time, spending all this money on me. But now I've seen the show. It's just a nice film. And I sound very conceited saying it. I'm not. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Geez, you might have to get a penguin suit for the Oscars, mate.
No,
imagine that.
If people think I'm making a fortune, there's nothing in it for me. And the object of the film, I can to unload what I might have done in a book, and I might still do one day. But no, it's the two people who've burnt hours. Like, I thought I worked long days on the Tour de France. These guys, Eleanor and Nick, the producer and the camera woman, they have been amazing. They're working every day from 6 a.m. and they work till midnight. They've been locked down too in Melbourne, where they come from. They've had big problems finishing the film off. They can't cart these big machines back home. They've got to be in the office to make the film, and you well know damn what it takes to make a film. It's come out. They're so happy. They're so happy.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. We're really looking forward to seeing it. Great stuff from Phil, and part 3 is when John finally contributes something to the chat. Now, if you're going to contribute,
I got an invite to the premiere, but it's in South Australia, and they won't let us Mexicans in there. So
it's a problem, but don't worry, John. I'll see you get a film, because you've got a part in it. Oh my goodness me.
Oh,
I
well,
tried to get it cut out, but they wouldn't hear it.
all good, all good. So I missed the first part, so I guess how can I ask a question? You probably already asked it by the sounds of it.
I didn't ask anything about Caleb or anything like that, John.
No.
So
Oh, okay. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Well, mate, the race just keeps giving and giving. It's been a sensational bike race. So what did you think of last night's amazing sprint stage?
Well, in all fairness, Caleb spoke to us on the NBC at the start in the morning, and the guy is so mature. He has it all worked out, and with his team, Jasper de Vries is his final lead-out man, and they are friends. They're real friends. There's a chemistry between the two of them. So Jasper knows what he's got to do for Caleb approaching the finish. They both read the weather. They read the wind correctly. They knew about the slight rise up to the finish. They knew it was going to be a headwind. They just knew it all. And this guy, given the right chance, I think is now the best sprinter in the world. And we've watched him progress, John, through the Bay Classics and right through his Australian career. So we've had many dinners with Mum and Dad and Caleb in the hotel in Geelong, and it's nice to see a guy come to the top like this. There's not many more shots left now. I mean, arguably a week next Friday they might have another sprint, and of course in Paris on the last day. But that's it. The sprinters have to just get to Paris now. A brilliant sprint. Sagan's getting a bit cheeky now. He's pushing his weight around a bit too much. That hole was never there until he made it.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah, I feel sorry because Peter, just for me this year, he's showing the signs of tipping over the peak of his career, and he's not sprinting like he used to.
Well, I thought that until yesterday, but I got to say, he actually sprinted. I mean, it suited him slightly uphill like that, but he was going. I mean, if he had got through that gap without having to run into Van Aert, he probably would have won it. But I just wanted to say there's one thing I noticed yesterday that I really enjoyed: the friendly rivalry between Caleb and Sam Bennett. The way they punched hands, they're really good mates.
I've got a photo of that, John. Look at that.
Look at that. No, they are demons on the bike, different characters. They both want to win, but they are very, very good friends, and that's good to see. It's really good.
Evidently, they share. They're in the same apartment block in Monaco, and also Caleb's married. Caleb's wife Ryan is Irish as well, so there seems to be a couple of connections there.
Well, there's two things I didn't realise.
He's just giving you ammo.
We're just about 2 hours away from starting coverage. It'll be 6 o'clock in the morning in the States when we start coverage today on this 12th stage. I'll use that. I didn't know that.
There you go.
Apartment block in Monaco. No.
Well, how do you go with the commentary, Phil, when it's people that you know and you've spent time with? Does the decibels go up a little bit? Do you get that extra bit excited?
I try not to be a biased commentator. Everybody's got to have a shot at it and tell the story. But the answer is, yeah, you know the guys very well. I used to be the same with Sean Kelly and indeed with Robbie McEwen, because Robbie was a terrific sprinter and a very exciting sprinter. And Caleb takes a lot after Robbie. Always comes from deep down the peloton to win stages with an incredible turn of speed, Ewan.
And Sagan takes after Robbie too with the headbutt.
Well, I was also... Oh, dear, you've got a long memory, Dan.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, got the headbutt gag in again, Johnny. Good thing Robbie's actually dropped off. Now, here's the last part of our chat with Phil, where you relive some earlier.
You take me back now, Phil. I can remember you and I standing there watching the final stage of the Bay Crits. I think it was the Mitchelton Bay Crits back then, and in the 17 he was young Caleb. It was his first time we spotted him, and the last stage was in Williamstown, and Alan Davis, who was a world-class road sprinter, had ran third, I think, in Milan-San Remo that year, and he had a lead out going with his teammate from Green Edge. Come to me in a minute.
Durbridge.
No, sprinter. It'll come to me in a second. But anyway, they came to the last corner, flat out. No, close, but anyway, no cigar. And Caleb just stepped off third wheel and went past them like they were standing still. And he was only 17. And he ran second to Alan Davis in that. And Lee Howard, it was the Geelong boy who I should have remembered straight away. Lee Howard leaning out, Alan Davis flat out into the last corner. He come around the corner, stepped off, and just went straight past them. 17. I thought, wow.
No, that was the thought. I mean, we all knew he was good. He stayed in 3 tours, and he had to move on from the Orica Green Edge squad because they were changing direction in their design of cyclists they wanted. So he had to make the move. But my goodness me, he made a good move, and he knocked out Andre Greipel to take his role as the top sprinter for Lotto Soudal, and. It's paid off. It's paid, and quite clearly the Belgian team love him. They sacrifice everything for him. And don't forget, his team has been decimated here at the Tour. You've only got Ghent for the long-term pacemaking. The other 3 riders are just the other 2 riders rather are dedicated to look after Caleb. Because the team has lost a few riders with problems.
Well, I lost John Deckencobb and Philippe Gilbert, 2 not bad bike riders who would have been able to really do a lot for him. But he seems to be going okay.
And then just before the rest day last Sunday, they lost one of the first timers in Steph Kras. So they've lost 3 riders off the team, and he's still winning races. So. Now it'll be a different plan now, a different battle plan until we get to the further down the road and we cross the Alps.
Good stuff. Anything else to add, Diffie? All good?
No, that's been absolutely great to catch up again, Phil, as always. And we'll make sure we catch up again in the last week.
I look forward to it, John. I'm shutting my little box. I've got used to the drive now every day. We've got it down to 1 hour, 3 minutes, aiming to beat the hour when the first shot opportunity comes. Now the kids are back to school, the traffic has increased as well, and but when you come round past London Heathrow Airport, the slip road that normally goes into the airport I'm using as a shortcut. There's no cars on it. In the old days you wouldn't get down that road in less than 30 minutes, and it's only a kilometre long because they're all piling into the airport. It's the only way in. But I'm using it as a shortcut now and coming in.
That's a good story.
It's a whole different world, John. It's a whole different
world. It certainly is, mate. Great to speak to you, pal.
Thanks for joining us, Phil.
Thank you, guys. Mate. Yeah, stay in touch. Bye-bye.